Okay, let's talk about Saturn retrograde. Saturn will retrograde until December. This will be especially pertinent for people that are Aries risings because Saturn is currently in Aries, but also people that are Saturn ruled. So that would be Aquarius and Capricorn rising. We'll go from the top of the list to the bottom of how this should affect each of the rising signs. First, let's talk about what Saturn represents. Saturn is the ultimate rude awakening. It is the rock in your shoe that just doesn't let up. It is the pain and the lessons that we receive from Saturn. It's not a bowl of cherries. It's definitely not. I wouldn't say any Saturn transit is exactly pleasant. I always use the caveat that I do like Saturn in the 10th house, but that's for other reasons. I mean, if I were to choose a Saturn placement, it would probably be Saturn in the 10th house. But Saturn retrograde happens every year, so it's not anything that's new to us. But, same with like Pluto retrograde, Neptune retrograde. We have all these retrogrades happen every year. So this isn't like a once in a lifetime thing. But Saturn retrograde in the first house of Aries, I definitely would not be doing anything major like with your physical appearance. I would also take very, very good care of your teeth, anything with like the face, the head. Make sure, I mean, you should always take care of your teeth, in my opinion, but just be very cautious because, Saturn does rule the bones. So, Capricorn, Aquarius rules the bones and the skeletal structure, but Aries being ruled by the head, I feel like Aries risings, Aries suns, they tend to be more prone to injuries and issues with like their hearing, their eyes, their teeth, their head. So just be extra careful during this period. I'd also say too that this is just maybe a time when you need to look back on what it is that you need to address with your own physicality, your own physical energy, your own expression of how you show up in the world. Because, yes, the ascendant is how we look, but it's also our physical health. So for Aries rising, this may mean having to go back and revisit something that has to do with a physical ailment, something to do with the head. I mean, this could even be, I mean, this is kind of an odd take, but this could be like mental health, the head. For Taurus risings, this is going to affect your 12th house. So I think a lot of Taurus risings are probably experiencing a lot of intense spiritual awakening at this point. But with Saturn not only transiting, but now retrograde in your 12th house, this would be a great time for therapy. This would be a great time to deal with your grief, to deal with, the things in your life that spiritually don't make sense right now. There's a lot of, I always look at things in the 12th house as secret enemies coming back to the forefront. So there can be a lot of things going on behind the scenes that you may not be aware of. And, with Neptune there as well, I would really look at your addictions and the things that tend to control you. We all have addictions. We all have things that try to run the show. I feel like, so it's, in Eastern culture, Eastern philosophy, they always talk about the monkey mind. And like Americans, we have the monkey mind. We don't know how to just stay present here in one thing, in one moment. It's, oh, what about this? What about that? So with Saturn retrograde in the 12th house, it's almost like it's duct taping you to a chair to force you to have to look in the mirror and look at these painful experiences and painful situations that maybe are more convenient and easily ignored. And I mean, in typical Taurus fashion, no offense, I love Taurus people, but they do like to be self-indulgent. They do like to, I'll deal with that tomorrow, I'm just going to rest today type of energy at times, especially when it comes to uncomfortable things or things that are not really super cathartic for them. For Gemini rising, this can be a time, I mean, you also have Uranus in your first house, so you have to remember that. That's like a very radical transit. I've seen when people have had Uranus conjunct the sun, or even just Uranus in their first house, where they take on a new appearance, a new outlook on life. But with Saturn in your 11th house retrograde, you may have friends or associations that come back, or you may realize like, hey, like these friends and these associations are really not for me, and I need to address that. So you may have to pay, because Saturn is like a karmic planet, so you may have to pay the piper when it comes to things that you've involved yourself with associations or friendships, or even things that you've said like on social media, because the 11th house is like the house of social media. So I would say that this would be a time from now until December when, old friends may reappear, but you may realize like, what, this isn't really the kind of friendship that I value or that I'm looking for. But I also would pay close attention to the fact that Uranus is now in your first house. That's a long transit. You're going to go through a lot of physical transformations. This is kind of like buy the sports car, dye your hair purple type energy, or maybe even just shave your head. I don't know. Cancer rising, you're going to have Saturn retrograding in your 10th house. So there's going to be a lot of push-pull with authority figures. Not that we can ever plan this out, but this would not be the time to get into a power struggle with the law or any legal sort of situation, because Saturn will put its foot down and up your ass probably. So Saturn in the 10th house in general, I like that as a natal placement, but as a transit, it does, the 9th and 10th house do scream legal issues to me, but the 10th house also can be kind of our persona to the world, right? So it's like how you're coming across. So there may be a lot of friction when it comes to bosses or people that have autonomy over you, or even like, I don't want to say marriage partners, but I do feel like the 10th house sometimes can rule our status, which can include marriage. In traditional astrology, the 10th house also rules the mother. So check in on your moms, especially with Saturn retrograding in this 10th house. This is going to go on until December. So Cancer risings have been through a lot, especially with this retrograde that we just had, at Mercury retrograde in Cancer, and the full moon opposing your Cancer rising, that full moon in Capricorn, and now you have Saturn, the taskmaster, really pushing up against your own autonomy, essentially, and basically the authorities that push up against that autonomy. So be mindful. I'm a fighter, but I'm not saying that you should be. So Leo rising, again, like I said, the 9th house, I could see that definitely being a legal situation unfolding from now until the winter time. The 9th house doesn't always mean legalities, but it definitely can, because the 9th house is like, it's the house of law. But it's also the house of philosophy and higher learning. So this may be a time when you're like struggling to maneuver through legal troubles, but also your own like purpose in life, like your own philosophy and your own meaning, and like even your own spiritual ideals, So this can be a time when there's this like push-pull of like, what do I believe? Am I a manifester? Do I really believe in manifesting? Like, what do I actually believe here? Saturn, even though it feels like it's here to torture us, it's not necessarily here to torture us, but it is here to teach us so we can evolve and become better. These Saturn retrogrades are not fun, but they are here to help us level up, so that way when Saturn does go direct, we have our ducks in a row and we can move forward effectively. Stay tuned for part 2.